Hello everyone, welcome to this very quick, well, somewhat quick VRoid tutorial. I will be going through how to download and some of the basics, so let's get started on that, shall we? So you can download VRoid from two different places. You can get it from their website, or actually as of recently, I don't know how recent actually, you can get it from Steam, which you can see it down here. The latter is the new edition, so definitely grab it from whatever is easiest to you. If you do get it on the website, remember to get it from their website and to download the file that corresponds to your PC. So once you do that, do the usual install and stuff, and let's open up VRoid for now. Since the installation process is pretty much the same everywhere. Okay, here we go. You will be introduced to this display. The pre-made avatars on top appear. These are here samples, and the bottom ones will be yours. You can either edit one of these or you can make your own. But for now, we're gonna make one. I'm gonna make a male, just for fun. Okay. So there are multiple categories up here. Today we're going to start with the face editor and we will proceed as we go along. If you want to zoom in and out, you use the mouse slider to go in and out. If you want to move your character side to side, press the space bar and the left click. And if you want to rotate your character, just right click and you can check whatever angle you want. Now let's move this character over here. Here on this design tab, you're responsible for designing the character. The direction the eyes are, if you want the eye to have a slant, or if you want the mouth to be a little lower. I would recommend you mostly only use the sliders, but you can use numbers. Let's say you want 1. The only issue with that is that numbers have to be really small, or things like this will happen. And the only issue with this is that there will be clipping when your character is smiling or saying a surprised face or whatever, which you can check here. This is a good place to check for clipping. Here you can click on the pre-made faces, or you can use the sliders to do a combination of them. For now though, let me take this down to 0. Texture is a tab you will have pretty much anywhere in terms of designing the character. Here, let's give you iris as an example. It will give you the default image of the iris and a free layer for you to draw on and a guide. You can always add a layer or move it up and down if you'd like. I recommend you always work on the given layer, because if you ever want to keep the bottom image for some reason, let's say you want to lower the opacity to keep the shading underneath or something like that, you're going to want to keep this image. If you draw something and if you make a mistake, click Ctrl Z and it should fix it. If you want to make changes on one side but also want it to be mirrored on the other side, just click that button up there. Boom. It'll do it for both. Let's move on. This is the eraser. This is you can blur, brush, that kind of thing. We're going to skip hair editor for now, just because it's what's going to take you the longest, aside from the clothing. So let's move on to body and get that out of the way. Here, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? The sliders will let you move the body if you want them to be shorter, if you want the shoulders to be broader, if you want the torso to be longer or shorter. That's pretty much all of that. You get all of them, the waist, the legs, you can even change the foot size, which you can't see from here, but that's fine. Just like in the others, you will have texture packs. This is where I recommend that you do any like gloves, tattoos, that kind of thing. This is only for the body though, not for the face. So here, I'm gonna mirror this for a second just so you see that if you make one change on one side, let's say I want get the brush for once instead of the eraser. Boom. You make this change here. Oh, I didn't click the mirror button. Well, whatever, you get what I mean, right? Like, it'll do changes. If you're not sure what body part you're working on or where a certain part of the body is, let's say you're looking at this. I mean, I can kind of tell, right? This is the torso, this is the belly button. Let's say you didn't know what this was. Or let's say this, for example, like, what the heck is this? You can do one of two things. You can do this, and oh look, now I found it. Or if you want to draw a texture on here that you don't know where it is on here, you just like draw it, let's say on the arm, and it'll tell you on this side where that texture is. So that's really useful. Again, change the width of your thing, of your like brush, change the opacity, and this is the opacity of the layer. Let's move on to clothing. Let's see, clothing. Alright, so you can pick from preset clothing articles. The base model will make the character naked. This is usually what I do when I want to fix proportions. Like if the arms feel a little too long or whatever, I usually just remove the clothing so I can have a better understanding of what's going on with the body. But I'm not going to show you what that looks like because he's naked. I don't know about that. Chief, you got your one piece, which I think this is really cute for the female model. This is, if you can't tell, this is actually what I used for my character. I just removed the sleeves. Let's do a long coat. I'm going to do this one specifically because there's something I want to show you. But here you can decide if you want the top to be something else. One piece, pencil skirt, uniform, shirt, or nothing. This is the issue with this particular article of clothing, is that it isn't designed to have anything underneath, so there will be nothing. You will be missing skin. So I recommend you pick one, you check if it has something underneath, if you're going to be removing sleeves and such, and decide accordingly. Let's go back to the default. I'm just gonna... long coat, boom. Here, depending on the article of clothing, you will be able to edit certain things. So if you want the shoulder puff to go up, maybe a little different. Maybe this is going to be a little flatter. Basically, just mess around with this, do whatever you'd like. If you want to have article of clothing underneath this, like right now he's wearing pants, but if I want him to wear a skirt. Oh, he's wearing pants, but now he's wearing the black pants. I can't see apparently. Skirt. You're gonna have to be very careful with this one and how you do combinations because the skirt will clip through. Now, of course, you can do one of two things. You can pick an article of clothing from here, or you can make your own through Photoshop. I will not be showing you how to do that because that is not what I did. So I'm personally not sure how. Let's give him something else just to make him look kind of cute. Uniform pants. Boom. And just because I'm really picky... let's give them long sleeve because I think that's much cuter. There are no, like, accessories aside from the necktie. But I'm sure they will add more. As of now, there isn't really anything else. You can check. Nothing. The one thing there is, though, there are a lot of shoes to choose from. Not a lot. There are like 4 shoes. Okay, maybe like 6. But here you can pick loafers, these... Now notice that these clip through. This usually happens with shoes that are like have high heels, but that's fine because this is designed to serve only flat shoes. But if you put barefoot angled or socks angled, it would change accordingly. Now we're gonna leave these on him because he looks absolutely gorgeous. The same idea goes with the texture. You can change the texture of the article of clothing in any way that you wish. Let's try something really obnoxious. Let's try green. If I want to change this, have a green line in between. Boom. If I want his shoes to be, let's say red, for example, or pink. Again, you can draw us directly on here, or you can do this, right? This is just the bottom of the shoe, the inside of the shoe. Boom. It's got a nice little design to him. Eraser here, blur here, Control Z to delete anything you don't want. Let's move on to hair editor, actually. Because that's kind of what's a little better. Alright. So, texture as well. We already know what that does, right? This lets you mess with the colors and the style of the hair. So, UV Mappy, Ray, World, don't mess around with these ones too much. But I would recommend you leave the base color white. Because if you change it to, let's say, yellow, for example, and you add blue strands on top, it'll look green. So just leave this white. If you do want to shade like in a different color, notice how on the side the shade is like it changed now. So let's say you make something really extreme. Boom. He looks I really like this color actually. I might continue keeping this and messing around with it. Let's not worry too much about this one until you've actually like created the hair itself. So let's go to design and let's add a strand. So here it usually defaults you to blue if that's what you left as the base color. You can change that, of course. Let's give him sort of like, there you go. You can give him a strand, maybe put it like right here because he's kind of edgy and he's kind of cute. Let's do it like this. Just make sure, you know, the clipping is a thing. From what I know, your default won't be this close to the head. You see that little net on the outside? That can change. You can change that. How? Like this. If you click this arrow here, select, you can change the net around the hair, and that's basically the distance between the hair and the head. So let's say, for example, you're looking at this one. Notice how it's clipping through the skin. You can make something super extreme. So you can do something like that. Give him like weird JoJo hair. Boom. I don't recommend you change strands this way. There are other ways to do it. But if you really want to do something funky, this is kind of where you would do it. If you want to change a specific like strand, click on this control point here. Make sure you have it selected on here. It'll make more of a difference once you add more strands. But here you can change it. Like if you don't want it to be at this specific angle, you can move it around like that. And you have to remember to move all the points. If you want to make this shorter, however, just make sure that you move the points upward, especially this last one here, and it'll make the strand shorter. Let's add some more hair. You can duplicate the specific type if you want, or if you want the next one to be, let's say, yellow. That way, when you... Here, let's mirror this so you can see what it looks like when you mirror a strand from one side to the other. Boom, it creates it on both. And remember, the hair net is kind of outward, so it won't stick to the head all that much. But let's say you really want blonde hair. Boom. You made more blonde hair, you made more blonde hair. But now suddenly you don't want blonde hair, you want more green. So that way you create these different sets so you don't have to manually change the color every time. Boom. He looks adorable. I love this. Same thing here, parameters. This is basically just the lines. You can also change the shape. So if you want like a square, let's do Ika-chan because I haven't done this one yet. It's slightly different shape. Notice how it doesn't look... Notice how this one's a little sharper and this one has like a little diamond shape at the bottom. So go ahead and play around with that. Texture, I already told you how that does, but let me demonstrate that real quick. Let's say you want like green. Notice how it adds green to it. So just be careful with that. Now moving on to the general editor. This is kind of like the spot where you will troubleshoot physics in terms of hair and clothing. So let's do this. Outline is just the outline of the body and the hair. So it'll make thicker lines. Thicker face, thicker body. Rim light is the light, basically. How strong do you want it? How much do you want it on there? In what direction do you want it? How strong? On the body. Boom. So you can more see it over here. It basically just changes the angle. Same thing with the shading. It's the same as the lighting. How much do you want it? How hard do you want it? Hard is basically like... The only way I can describe it is from blurry to cartoony. Because it just makes the image sharper. So let's say I want a lot of shading on the hair. Let's do it on the hair, actually. Well, the body. This looks better on here, actually. Say I want a lot of shading, but I want it to be sort of hard. Boom. It'll be really, really obvious. That's what that does. Eye excursion. I like messing around with this because I like that it follows you with your eyes. I think it's kind of sneaky. Look at him looking at you. Honestly, I know. I really like this shade of pink. It's adorable. Now, this kind of messes with the direction that either eye goes in. As you can see right here, it goes up and down, lower. So mess with that however you please. Springbone is the amount of shaking your character will do while in motion. So feel free to mess with this both here and here. These are probably the two tabs you're going to have to go back and forth just to check. And now, here, facial expressions, another place where you can check for clipping. Change neutral, make them smile. There is something I want to show you, so let me open up the mouth real quick, just so I can, like, show you what I mean. You can add fangs, is what I'm getting at. Tooth, yeah, here you are. You can add fangs, whether it be on the bottom, on top, maybe just one or two, or just on one side. So that's a thing you can do. You can remove the teeth entirely, if you want him to look like a child, or some kind of anime character. So there you go, you can add fangs. Boom. Make your character look very, very spicy. Background, pretty self-explanatory. Change the color of the background, or you can add your own, or you can remove it depending on what you need. Pose and animation, like I said, this is another good one for troubleshooting in terms of clipping and physics. There are 3 types of animation. There are the male animation, the female animation, which we wonder what's the difference. Well, look how standby 2 is that, and standby 2 here is this. The pose will let you do pretty much anything you want. So if you want him to like hold his arm behind himself or whatever, obviously this isn't perfectly because you can move angles, do the thrust, 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 thrust. Sorry, the song is really getting to me. But you can do pretty much any angle you want. You want him to kind of tilt to the side, maybe this way. So this is good for artists, you know, reference. If you are trying to create a scene, or if you want to use a reference, this is really good for you, so feel free to use that. You got presets as well, so do as you please. Experiment with that, it's really fun. Lighting, pretty much I already said this. Altitude, so where is the light source coming from, what direction, and how strong. Wind, hold on, let me do this just cause. Wind will determine the wind and from what direction it's coming from. You can't quite tell with this one, so let me change to... Oh, I should have done this first. Let me give him a skirt real quick. That's the wrong kind of skirt. This one doesn't have any wind physics, I don't think. No, it does not. Here it is. This one. So this one determines the angle as well of the wind. Left or right, up and down, and forwards and back. If you want to reset the wind settings ever, click here. Post effect. This is After Effects, basically after you've created your model. You want to make it nice and blurry looking. You want it low, high. How much do you want it? Bloom. Just mess around with these. I don't really touch these, but if you're really into that. Can I just say though, he looks adorable in this skirt. Damn. Anyway, capture size, picture. How big do you want it? Upload a VRoid hub is if you want to post it on the website for everyone to see and discuss. So that's up to you if you want to do that or not. Export is to pretty much save it to your computer. Like if you want to use 3-teen or whatever, which is what I'm using. This is where you would do it. The mesh reduction is basically it lowers the amount of like particles, I would say, or amount of data that your character is taking up. Notice how the number on triangles is getting smaller every time I move it this way. It really makes a huge difference. It's basically the more reduction, the more polygon looking, because it's, you know, trying to use the least amount of data as possible. So you do that with this, do that with the material on the clothes, do that with the bone structures. Pretty much have fun with that. That's all of the basics, I'm pretty sure. Anything else is just details and stuff that you can mess with. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I will be posting like links and stuff in the description for where to find them. There is also another website that you can use. Here, actually, let me show you real quick. Also, don't forget to save. But let me look this up for you. This is a website that I myself have looked on, I've skimmed through, but I think this will help you, obviously aside from the other tutorials that you saw up there. But you can change, or you can look, like, for example, how to model pigtails. There will be videos on how to do that. If you want to make your character a little more dynamic, or you want to do something that's a little more ambitious, you want to change a specific hair part, boom, it'll tell you how to do that in more detail. You want to create an anime character, how to use the anime style and the textures, this will explain it. So feel free to look at this as well. I will be providing links to all of this in the description down below, so feel free to check it out. And while you're down there, feel free to like and subscribe, and maybe check my other content if you like. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.